Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the 17th episode of Off the Wall Wisdom and Whimsy.
17, all right.
17, yes. One of them prime numbers.
Yeah, I like prime numbers. We talked about favorite numbers once on
think
here,
we did, yeah.
I was the weirdo who likes like the prime numbers 17, 11, 1.
Well, 1 isn't technically a
Yeah, I
prime
was
number.
going to say that.
It's special. It's got a category of its
Felt
own.
like that was wrong when I said it.
It's got a category of its own, kind of like 0.
It's not time for nerdy.
Oh, my bad. We gotta wait
You're
on
getting
that.
ahead.
Gotta wait on that. Brought to you tonight by honey roasted cashews.
Nice.
You can see that there. This is just the Great Value brand, but Planters, of course, just fine as well.
It says on the side there it's a delicious snack.
It does say on the side there it's delicious snack, and you know what? They're not bad. They've got
Be the judge of
nice
that.
little honey roasted flavor to them.
Good.
I do have. I know that I've already gotten in trouble once for getting nerdy a little bit too quick, but I did some math earlier today.
Maths,
And
as
your
our
maths,
European friends.
Maths is our European, yeah. Some mathematics. And based on how much total fat is in each serving of this and the number of calories, roughly 2/3 of every serving of this is fat.
Really?
Really.
2/3?
2/3 of every serving of honey roasted cashews is pure fat.
Wow.
So, take that for whatever you will. I think they're still a delicious treat.
I do too.
But they
You
are
think
definitely,
of it as a healthier.
and that's what I my thinking was. I guess it's because of the type of fat
I was going to say it's probably some
is one that's
difference.
less, doesn't lead to high bad cholesterol or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
So there you go.
All right, it's a great sponsor for the night. Let's kick this off with an off the wall question that Dave does not know about.
Right.
I may have to explain it. I don't know. Maybe not. It's a two-parter kind of, Dave. Okay. So, what would you consider to be your perfect age? Okay. So we're talking birth to death.
Sure.
Anywhere in between. What would be your perfect age?
I assume part 2 is why.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay, I'm getting ahead of you.
What are you going to have me?
All right. Well, since I am but a mere 30 years old.
Mm-hmm. You're about to tell us you're perfect. Is that what you're about to say?
Do what?
Are you about to tell us you're perfect? Is that your
No,
age is
no,
perfect?
no.
Okay. So you're 30. I'm 40. There's a decade.
There's a decade between us. Almost exactly a decade between us, because your birthday's in March and my birthday's in March. So almost exactly. I think we're separated by like 2 weeks. 2 weeks away from being exactly a decade apart.
When I'm 90 and you're 80, I mean, big deal.
You're right. Nobody's going to care.
Yeah.
But you think about the fact, you were in elementary school and I was not even conceived yet.
Yeah. That's very true.
So, yeah, what a difference a decade makes, right?
True.
Right?
This is your future, buddy.
Okay.
Oh, man. Shook in fear.
That's...
Okay, sorry. What is it? Let's hear it. You're 30 now. What's your perfect age?
I'm going to go with 24, and I have a really weird reason for saying that.
Okay. I did not expect...
Yeah, I know, right?
Any reasoning.
Well, okay, so when I was in high school, I was really hoping to be dead by 24.
Whoa! This took a morbid turn.
I know, because just based on my very limited knowledge of life, I was like, that's pretty much when your life starts ending, is at 24.
So
because
up in high school, you thought...
Yeah.
24, life after that.
Because, when you graduate high school, you're still going to college and all that kind of stuff. But basically, the peak of your college experience has ended by the time you're 24. Either you've graduated or you're doing something that's too difficult to be fun. And you're either in the workforce or, again, you're in some sort of a high intensity college education to where after that it's just nothing but responsibility and debt and trying to pay debt off. And so I was like, 24, that's it. That's when you've hit.
That's enough for me, Lord.
That's
24.
when you've experienced enough life. And obviously the Lord has had different
Other plans.
His other plans. I think at this point it's just spite. Maybe he was going to take me at 24, and then he's like,
nope,
nope. Since you're one, nope.
Okay, so second part of the I'll answer, and then I'll give you the second part. I'm going much older.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to like 70.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. A few reasons. One, I'm really looking forward to being a grandpa.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's going to be awesome. And I'll be full on into that by then.
Sure.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe even great grandkids. I don't want to do the maths right now, but maybe.
Sure.
And so I think that's awesome. Two, this is a great place, but heaven's coming.
Yeah.
You're getting closer to 70. You may still have a good long while.
Yeah.
But you're getting closer.
Absolutely.
To heaven and all things really good.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I don't know. I'm just going older.
Okay.
I'm skipping a lot of the rigmarole.
Sure.
Heading right to retirement.
Sure. Retirement,
70,
grandkids. And, foot in the door
close
towards
to heaven.
Yeah.
Take me anytime. Okay.
So honestly, our reasoning is actually somewhat similar because
it
both involves death to a certain extent.
It's really sad. A little bit. Okay, the second part. Let's do this quick.
Mm-hmm.
Would you go to that age now? Would you jump back from 30 to 24?
Nah.
Yeah, I wouldn't probably do that either.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't,
Right. You'd be missing a whole lot.
A lot, yeah.
And for me, I'd basically be losing a lot of like wisdom and experience and all that kind of stuff. And so it'd be like,
that's where the question could get
sure,
tricky.
we could go into if you retain all your information.
All that, then,
I'm still gonna go with no, because there's no way, even with the wisdom and knowledge that I have, that if I go back to my young, studly 24-year-old body, that I'm not going to make the exact same mistakes that immortal person made.
Wow, everybody. Studly, he said.
It is getting deep in here. It is.
All right, well, there we go. So you're 24, I'm 70. So, all right. Should we get on? I don't know which one's which, Dave.
Yellow is our serious.
You got it.
Serious question, and it is a serious question, and it's one that that there probably would be some debate on amongst other theological. Well, not even theological, just religious ideals.
Anybody and everybody, really.
But it's what is the appropriate way for a Christian to treat a homosexual, or for that matter, I guess any member of the LGBTQ plus LMNOPHYZ community. They keep adding letters. Mm-hmm. But what is the appropriate way for a Christian to treat a member of one of that?
Yeah, so it's a tricky question. So I guess I'll start with, and this is probably understood by most people who know us at all or know kind of our background. We would both, I believe, I know I would, at least say biblically, like acting in homosexuality is wrong. It's a sin.
Correct.
And so that's where we're starting from. And I mean, I can, you go to Romans 1, talks about that. It talks about, for their women exchange natural relations for those that are contrary to nature. Mm-hmm. And the men likewise gave up natural relations with women and were consumed with passion for one another, men committing shameless acts with men and receiving in themselves the due penalty for their error. And since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind to do what ought not be done. So I don't buy the argument that people make that, Bible doesn't really have anything to say about homosexuality. Yeah. Like, to me, it's pretty clear.
And to take that one step further, because sometimes the argument goes to, well, Jesus didn't talk about homosexuality. And it's like, well, he didn't say the word homosexuality, but he did define marriage in Matthew 19, 4 through 5. He, being Jesus, answered, "Have you not read that one who is made at the beginning made them male and female? For this reason man shall leave his father and his mother, be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." And later on in that same chapter, he basically lays it out and says, here are your options. Stay single for the kingdom of God, He uses the word eunuch, you know. choose to be a eunuch, you know, stay single, remain celibate for God's kingdom.
We'll let them Google what that means or ask their
don't
mom or dad.
Yeah, please. Ask your mom and dad. That'd be a fun phone call. Or one man, one woman together for their life here on earth.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, you know, we're gonna answer the how do we treat people in that, but I just felt like should make it clear that I agree with the Bible. I think that it's a sin, that it's wrong. I'm not talking about a temptation. You can reject temptations,
sure,
right? And so if someone is just tempted by that, and they're choosing to remain celibate and reject that, then that's they're not living in a homosexual lifestyle, right?
So in this question, we're dealing with someone who is actively choosing that lifestyle.
Yes, yeah, and so I mean, first of all, I think it is wrong, and we could talk about that more, but that's not necessarily what this is.
Yeah,
this is about. The idea is, so if it is wrong biblically, like we're claiming it is, and the Bible is, how do we Christians, Dave and I, any Christians, how do you treat someone like that? It could be a family member, could be a friend, could be people you don't even know,
a stranger. Yeah.
But how do we go about treating them? So what would you say to that? I'll let you start this.
Sure. This is very complex, so to speak. Trying to find, because again, the New Testament doesn't specifically use the word homosexual or transgender or anything like that. But as I said, it makes it pretty clear what marriage is supposed to look like, what a sexual relationship is supposed to look like, and it's man and woman in marriage, and anything outside of that is defined as sexual immorality. And so
it's, you know, you think of sin, any sin really is just like going against God's design. Right. And this is an expression of that.
Yeah. And so I think my simplistic response would be we should treat them just like any other sinner, honestly, which would be to say we should love them, right? We should try to disciple them if we can, and we should try to tell them the truth of Christ. You know, I kind of with my verses, I took this to the point of, and you see from time to time, it's been a while since I've seen this broadcast on the news because COVID has completely drowned out just about every other issue. But you have seen from time to time where churches, the whole congregation, you know, with the blessing, maybe even with the participation of the pastor, they go to gay weddings and hold up signs and protest, and the signs say, and I apologize for the offensive language, but hold up signs saying God hates fags. And I absolutely reject the idea that that's how a Christian should act or behave, or that that's any sort of something that a Christian should participate in.
Kind of the Westboro Baptist approach.
That's their
thing about them. That's kind of things they do. They picket funerals and they would do things like that.
Yeah, and it's certainly not just them who would do something like that. And so some of the verses that I picked out for this are starting, you know, with like Romans 12. And if you ever wonder, is the way I'm living within the Christian life, start out with Romans 12 and kind of branch off from there. Because the last half of Romans 12 anyway is often titled the Christian mindset or the Christian way of life or something like that. But in Romans 12:14...
Marks of the true Christian.
There it is. Okay, there you go. So in Romans 12:14, it starts off with, bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse them. And, you know, that also, of course, extending to any sort of sinner, anyone who is not a Christian, anyone who disagrees with the Christian belief system. You jump down a little bit more to Romans 12:20 and 21. Know if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink, for by doing so you will heap burning coals on their head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So again, and I don't think that we as Christians should view homosexuals as our enemy, but this is kind of one of those deals where, I mean, you take it to the extreme of we should be loving our enemies. Yeah. We should be blessing our enemies. So how much more, I mean, should we also be doing for not even our enemies, just people we know, our loved ones who are maybe struggling with that kind of sin?
Yeah.
And, I mean, so that's kind of my basic response is we should be loving them, and we should be showing them the same kind of respect that we would show to pretty much anyone else in our church who's struggling with a sin.
Yeah. And there's different ways to disagree with people, right? You can pick it and hate and curse and gnash your teeth at them and disagree with them. Or you can say, listen, I love you. I care for you. I will help you. I will serve you. But I do disagree with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a better way. And here's where it is in the Bible. And so neither one of us, I don't think, are saying like back off the truth at all.
Right.
Don't tell someone the truth. I'm not saying that at all, and I don't think you are either. It is good and right to tell somebody the truth. Mm-hmm. But you can speak the truth in love, right? And like that's kind of a difference than speaking the truth in anger and rage and hate and and so there is a different way to tell people the truth. And honestly, one is way more effective than the other. I mean, when was the last time your mind was changed about anything?
When someone screamed
at you, yelled at you, got in your face, like it just doesn't happen.
Oftentimes our natural inclination is to automatically disagree with someone if they're yelling at us, even if they're right. It's just our natural inclination. And you look at, biblically, God tends to correct with a gentle hand. Not always, because sometimes people need a kick in the butt, but very rarely is he just yelling and screaming in people's faces.
Yeah, and we're not him.
And we're not him, we don't have those phenomenal cosmic powers, so
That's the genie from Aladdin.
Well, that is one of his lines. Phenomenal cosmic powers.
One thing I'll say that people use a little bit out of context at times, I'll read it to you and then I'll try to explain, is Matthew 18:15 through 17. It says, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile or a pagan and a tax collector. And so sometimes people will use a verse like this and they'll say, okay, here's a pattern you use with somebody who sins. First of all, it says if a brother sins against you, so that's maybe wrong or a very specific way to use it. But even if you could use this for every sin, right? And you go through this process, and they're just like
ignoring.
No, I'm going to do it. People take that last part. Let him be to you as a Gentile or a pagan and a tax collector, and they say, see, you just kind of write them off or you shun them. But here's the question, like, how did Jesus treat pagans and tax collectors?
Or even Paul, who he wrote Romans, how does he treat the Gentiles as his audience, right? So, I totally agree with that. And that's...
Yeah. And so you look at that and we want to be like Jesus. Like as Christians, that's who we want to be like. And so you imagine how he would treat this issue. I think in everything you saw Jesus do, he told the truth. Obviously never lied. Told people about their sins. You think of the woman caught in adultery and things like that. Yeah. Told them the truth, but did it in love and with as much grace and mercy as you can imagine. So it's the simple answer, like you said, is that's how you treat people.
And I think I really like that section of verses because it does kind of give you a process of how to go through helping someone who's in the church who's actively sinning. It gives you the steps to go through, but also it doesn't say really cast them out. It says treat them like one of the Gentiles. In other words, pretend like you're starting with a fresh lump of clay, so to speak, to use kind of biblical language. Just keep trying to disciple them, right? Keep trying to tell them the truth. Keep trying to
pray for them.
Yeah,
like you're going back to like you said. It's kind of all right. We're kind of going back to the beginning here,
right?
We're going to pray and that kind of thing. And so I don't know. It's a complex issue in a lot of ways, and in a lot of ways it's not.
Yeah.
When we first read the question, I think both of us were like, well, you love them. You know? Like
Yeah.
that's just simple. I get that it's become this thing that's elevated so much because this is it's not necessarily one for the children tonight. That's not a big target audience. But like sex has become this thing that has been elevated so far above everything else in our culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that's part of the issue with this is if there's anything related to sexuality, our culture has elevated that to such a high status that it's like you can't say that's wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't
Right.
possibly say that homosexuality is wrong, or take it to the heterosexual community that fornication is wrong. Like it's just elevated to this status that it's just untouchable to say any of that is wrong.
Sex is the biggest idol in America today.
Oh, I think that's absolutely true.
I have absolutely no problem saying that. Granted, especially other church members may have other idols, things that we might accidentally place higher than God. But in America in general, pop culture, you see it on TV, you hear it in songs, you see it in movies. Sex is the idol.
It's placed above everything. I can't think. I agree with you because I can't think of anything in our culture that is placed higher than that.
Yeah,
and
you even look at things that you might try to identify as, well, this is placed a little bit higher, but somehow in there you'll find that sexuality is part of that.
And I think where I was going with that, as wrong as I agree that acting out in that in a homosexual way, as wrong as I agree that is, it's also wrong to be a glutton, and it's also wrong to be, you know what I mean? And there are these other things that the church, we kind of, myself included, and probably definitely even in my own life, that we've kind of glossed over, and we kind of just, but that's one we've like latched onto to like really attack and really get hateful about. Maybe above even some others.
And I agree, and that's one of the verses I had was from Matthew 15:19, and I didn't copy this verse, but I'll talk about Romans 1 in a second as well. But Matthew 15:19, for out of the heart come evil intentions, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, false witness, slander. So adultery, fornication, basically sexual immorality, which we discussed is everything except for celibacy or a marriage between a man and a woman, is put up there with false witness. In other words, lying and slander, or theft. It's put in there in a line with those. And even if you want to go with like 1 Corinthians 6:18 talks about shun fornication, every sin that a person commits outside the body, but fornicator sins against the body itself. Again, sexual immorality. Even if you want to take that verse and go, well, the Bible says that sexual sins are placed a little bit higher than other sins, but that also includes like premarital sex, right? Yeah. And the church at some point in time has just kind of almost blown that off in a certain way. And again, this is going back to, I don't think we should hate people who do engage in that, but the church is very willing to accept and love mothers who are unwed, but at the same time are willing to absolutely shun and really hate homosexuals or transgenders, transsexuals, all that kind of thing. The
tricky part, and I don't know how much we'll get into this. The tricky part is, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Someone would say, well, one is unrepentant and just living in it.
Yeah.
And there could be a difference in how you treat a person who's unrepentant and living in it, but the difference is it's still not hate. It's still not hate, attacking. Yeah. It's still not right. It's still you're treating them in love and care and respect. Again, all the while not backing off the truth at all.
Right.
Not compromising the truth at all. Telling them the truth, but doing it in love.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. There's so many more avenues and complexities of this that I thought of, and I was like, I'm not bringing that up tonight.
A whole nother can of worms.
So we can probably stop there. So
Okay.
I am actually going to be. I don't know the nerdy question. Sometimes Dave gives me a heads up, but interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Dave.
Yeah.
I just off the wall.
Yeah.
Would like to know what animal lives the longest, and I have a guess in my head.
Well, I would love to hear your guess.
You want to hear my guess?
Actually, yeah.
I think it's some sort of a tortoise.
Tortoise?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will let you know that tortoises, specifically like Galapagos tortoises,
Yes.
they are among like the top 10 longest living animals.
All right.
I think that
Not
they
a terrible guess.
they can easily live hundreds of years old. Here we go. Yeah, Galapagos giant tortoise. One of the oldest was recorded at 152 years old. So they live an awful long time. The Galapagos giant tortoise.
152.
152.
Right.
Now, we also have whales
that
can, bowhead whale can live a lifespan of 200 plus years.
Wow, never even heard of a bowhead.
The Greenland shark, also 200 plus years. They did find one individual that was estimated at about 400 years old.
Really?
Various mussels can also live pretty old, but the two oldest animals that can live the longest, certain species of jellyfish that is actually called the immortal jellyfish.
Okay, yeah.
And also lobsters. Just your standard lobster, okay? They show none of the typical signs of aging. So the older they get, they don't show signs of cellular degeneration. They don't show signs of slowed healing factors, anything like that. It is believed by many scientists that absent predators or life-threatening injuries...
Or red lobster.
Yeah. Well, that would be predators, yeah. They would live forever.
Are you lying to me right now?
I am not lying
messing
to you.
with me.
I'm not messing with you.
So you're saying that
jellyfish and lobsters, if
they're not messed with.
If they're not messed with, if they were just given to their own devices, they have the potential, scientists believe, to live forever.
What in the world? So why have you and I not come up with some sort of lobster anti-aging
They're working on that
cream that we sell to people?
CRISPR, the genetic implantation DNA coding thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're working on trying to implement.
We could be like snake oil salesmen in the meantime, and
sure,
make our millions.
Grind up jellyfish and lobster DNA into an oil you rub on
puree.
Yeah,
that you could eat or rub on your face.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Dave! I really learned something tonight.
Yeah,
I really did. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. Okay,
so now two things: lobsters live forever and. Two-thirds fat. So there you go. Two things.
I'll be honest with you. I feel like there's subpar jokes tonight. I'm sorry. I'll apologize ahead of time. But, one of them's pretty good. It was a viewer submitted one.
Okay.
That is pretty good. The other two that I found not great. Okay. Anyway. So now that I've set the bar.
Yeah. Set the bar so low.
So low. Here we go. I caught my son chewing on electrical cords. So I had to ground him. He's doing better currently, and now conducting himself properly.
That is solid.
Thank you, Rhonda Barnhouse, for that one.
That is solid.
That.
That's good.
That was the one that was pretty good.
Okay, that's good.
It's not bad. It's not bad. My friend keeps saying, "Cheer up, man. It could be worse. You could be stuck underground in a hole full of water." I know he means well.
Okay.
It's better than I remembered. It's not bad. No, this one's dumb. Flat out dumb, okay? When you ask a dad if he's all right, no, I'm half left.
Oh, man. Oh, that's a bad one.
That's classic dad.
That is classic dad.
Classic dad, so. Anyway, all right, keep the questions coming. We have some more to go through. We're not really trying to just ignore any, so if you've submitted one, and we just haven't got to it yet, but... We're gonna
some
keep
of them.
keep
Some of
going.
them are honestly just so hard that we're trying.
We're a
to-
little scared of some.
Yeah.
A little scared of some.
We might have to do a few more two-parters with some of these
Yeah.
because some of them are pretty deep.
We've talked about two things. We could do two-parters with some and kind of more rapid fire with some others.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
Just not go maybe quite as in depth. But anyway, that's episode 17.
Yeah,
We did it. It's done. It's a prime number back to a regular old even number
Yeah,
next week.
18. 18 is divisible by a lot of different things. So, yeah.
It's no fun. Not unique at all. So. All right. Take care. Adios. See you
See
later.
ya.